You see this? It's called True Brain. I feel like Joe Rogan taking it while we record on the pod.
The intensity of this episode is going to be real.
Yeah. Dude, today, Apple just said that they are going to have to stop the sales of the Apple Watch, the new one.
Yeah.
How nuts is that?
What was the reason? It was some import ban or import tax or something?
I didn't get to read on, but the headline was something about a patent thing or whatever. But it's nuts. They're thinking it's going to cause a run on the sales of it. So, because I think they have to stop selling it by Christmas or something like that. So,
oh wow,
what a great way to boost sales! All right, guys, we got a great episode today. It's just Samir and I. Salim was not available, and we're gonna miss you, bud. But we'll try to make you proud. We got a bunch of topics that we're covering. We're going to cover Southwest and their friendliness to obese passengers, I should say. We're going to be talking about Hinge. We're going to be talking about Impossible Foods. There's a lot of exciting things we're going to be talking about. So let's get right into it, guys.
Men go mad.
It's gone mad.
Mad men.
You're bad.
A man's mad.
Mad men.
I'm mad.
Thanks to some viral TikTok videos and media coverage, Southwest was in the news cycle regarding their policy allowing plus-size passengers free seats on their flights. Customers are allowed to purchase the number of seats needed prior to travel to ensure additional seats are available and secured. And after travel is complete, those flyers can contact Southwest for a refund of the cost of the additional seating. The funny thing is that this policy has been around for about 30 years, and Southwest has used the latest coverage to really push other airlines to make this an industry norm. This is really interesting. Got a lot of people talking. Samir, what do you think?
You know, most people would probably see this as a great image booster for Southwest, brand doubling down on inclusivity. It's kind of looking at this point around safety and comfortability for the passengers, no matter their size. But there was some backlash to this policy that I found. There isn't exactly a role or a formula for Southwest agents to follow for this. It's pretty much at their discretion to decide who gets to use this policy. So some customers question if tall people would be excluded from this, or some people are probably going to abuse this policy for their own selfish benefit. I suspect that this policy was something implemented sort of under the radar. It wasn't meant to get this kind of mass appeal. And it was supposed to apply to a very small subset of people who have these kind of obesity challenges, and they have some safety and uncomfortable issues on planes. But now that everyone's talking about it, we will absolutely see people try to abuse this. Some will claim they're overweight or obese enough, or just don't feel comfortable sitting next to someone, like we all do. But that would result in a lot more refunds than Southwest would like, or even conflicts at the gate during boarding that Southwest would really want to deal with. Can you imagine someone who is moderately overweight asking for this, and a gate agent saying that they aren't fat enough to hold an extra seat for them? Like, for now, Southwest is playing it cool, right? To the media, they're saying this is just who we are. We have always been this way, but over at corporate, I got a feeling they are scrambling to develop some sort of training for gate agents to figure out how to manage potential conflicts, or giving clear direction for them to make appropriate decisions. I don't know. This just seemed like while it seemed like a gesture of goodwill for the brand, it just kind of opened a Pandora's box of challenges to fight against. Clear policy in Southwest, but it just sucks that everyone knows about it now.
Yeah, it really is. But what a great bet to make on Southwest's part to talk about it now. Total stud, I say. So look, they know half the country is on Ozempic and Mounjaro. So go ahead and tell everyone you're friendly to obese people. But it's really a Southwest thing to do. It is all about love. It's all about inclusivity. I love it in that sense. But I know who really hates that everyone's talking about this is United Airlines. They were the first to start weighing passengers if they could. Gate agents were ready to be like, okay, your bag is 45 pounds. Good. Now it's your turn to step up. Whoop, 221 pounds. Please go to the bathroom to lose that extra pound. Otherwise, we're going to have to charge you something or something. But, You're right. I mean, this is probably going to cause some havoc with like figuring out what the policy is around this. And it would be really funny if they took it a step further from abusers, like maybe require a doctor's note saying that you're, considered morbidly obese before you ask for that refund. Or, when like, I think airlines really should get more creative though. If you ask me, I think they should say at the checkout, like, would you like to supersize this, this ticket? And then you get the works. Like you could just get the works. You get a wheelchair going through security. You get that extra seat. You'll get a personal fan. They'll get you an extra fan. I don't know. I pay for that.
But it's infinitely tougher than not to deal with this. But hey, you're right. Like, it's right onto their brand. They want to be personable. They want to be relatable. They're going to admit what is true and try to protect those who feel like the world is kind of built against them and not with them in mind. And accessibility, inclusivity, those are big important things. But it was just unfortunate that a lot of people now know about this policy. They can't go backwards on this. They can't undo this. It's going to make it look even worse. So
yeah. You're going to have some sort of rule though. Something's going to pop up.
Yeah, for sure. All right. For our next Dutto stud, the dating app Hinge has announced a new social impact initiative called One More Hour. It is backed by a $1 million fund that will provide grants of up to $25,000 to social groups and organizations that are helping young people find belonging. Hinge will track the number of connections made through the initiative and monitor the impact on consumers' well-being. Hinge is all about making social connections, and they realize that young adults today spend about 1,000 fewer hours making in-person social connections each year than the previous generation. Hinge believes that social clubs and groups are effective ways for individuals to find community and want to make these resources more accessible. I'm trying to get my head wrapped around this move. Hinge is still a dating app, right? Like they still make money through in-app purchases, ads, premium subscriptions to their digital platforms, but they're pushing in-person meetups. Help me understand, is this a dud or stud?
I was reading this and I was like, man, you're right. Like this is it's a dating app making a push for more social interaction all around. But, more and more I thought about this, I was like, I got to address the issue with dating apps while we're on the topic. I never had to experience dating apps. I'm so old that I literally slid into my wife's DMs on Facebook, and like old enough where I could say it was before it was called Messenger. The reality is that dating app users really overthink everything. And I think that's what's really led to the lack of social in-person interaction. And here's what I mean by overthinking everything. I think like you're forced to judge a few photos and kind of get hooked into this engaging conversation. And if it doesn't happen, you just kind of say, okay, I jump ship. Right. And that's what's really led to this like Netflix style of scrolling through dating apps. And like, if it doesn't hook you in the first couple minutes, then you're on to the next movie. Right. But I remember when these dating apps first launched, there was like conversation, oh, it's going to lead to a baby boom. Like it's never been this easy to meet people, right? That was the whole thing. And we're actually having the opposite problem. And it makes total sense. So I actually love that Hinge is trying to address this DM culture and kind of force everyone or encourage IRL. Right. And this is important. I really think this is a stud move. And it's kind of similar to Southwest, right? Like we just talked about them taking the L on, or maybe potentially facing abusers on this like obesity policy. Similar, like, yes, you're right. They are dependent on these in-app purchases and everything, but they're ready to take the L for greater brand, likability and greater brand equity, because it's going to lead to happier customers. And, it could actually create a more lifelong connection to Hinge for their future growth, right? Eventually Hinge wants to probably explore other ways to connect people rather than just dating. So I don't know. Am I missing something, Samir? Why wouldn't this be a stud?
I think your last point is exactly where my mind went with this. What is Hinge's play here at trying to be known as the connector of people? And I guess I have yet to understand what the business model is to support that. dating apps business models are horrendous, right? Like I think it was Bumble's, maybe it's even Hinges. I think it's one of theirs. Whole headline, the whole positioning is about the app that's meant to be deleted. Like how do you build a business off of that, right? Like there's a reason why there's been so many dating apps that have gone through the cycles, and there's very few that have remained standing, right? And I think Match.com owns a lot of them. And it's all because they were not sustainable to be able to be on their own. And then they just became more niche and interest specific, right? You got religious affiliated dating apps, then you have geographic ones, and then you have cultural ones, and then you have hobbies, right? And then I guess like Hinge is just like, who cares what you're interested in? We just care about you connecting with people. Or like what I understand Hinge's brand to be able to play into that, but I lose sense at where they're going to benefit from this. And if all of these pushes around, experiential, in person, if these are all just brand acts, this is very expensive to just maintain a brand identity that is different enough, but it's not connected to a business model. So I think that's where I get stuck. And I think you're right. I think there is a lot here to love about the brand who wants to be known for connecting people. That's powerful, right? That you can do a lot with that. Just haven't seen Hinge do anything with it yet.
Yeah, it's really I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of foreign to this whole culture, and so I've never even used one of these apps. I have no clue like what the other portions are of the app. But maybe there is going to be one day where we're all just dependent on that to meet new people and build new connections. So, all right, let's go to the next one. The CEO of Impossible Foods, Peter McGuinness, spoke at Adweek X in LA last week, and he said some honest things about the plant-based meat category that are pretty interesting to hear. He claimed that among challenges like taste, distribution, and price, plant-based meats have an image problem. The founders of plant-based meats were climate warriors who have leaned into sustainability as a key selling point, which really made the category smaller than it needs to be. He said, quote, there was a wokeness to it. There was a bi-coastalness to it. There was an elitism to it. And that pissed most of America off. Early communication positioned the plant-based category as food tech, and we really don't eat technology. He is now stepping up to the challenge to go from judging people and insulting people to now inviting them. A rebrand is coming for Impossible Foods. It's becoming more clear than ever. Samir, do you agree with his take on plant-based foods having an image issue?
1000% agree. I absolutely love how honest he was being about this. I think he highlighted some things that it didn't necessarily click in my mind just knowing about the category a little bit. It was something that when he was describing it, I really felt like it all came together. Yes, there is an elitism to this category. Yes, it did come from food tech. And he's completely right that we don't want to consume that. Right. And it is a very difficult task to reposition an entire category still new to us. I think a lot of us still don't quite understand what plant-based foods are really about. And I think plant-based as a notion, while there is a wellness halo to it, while there is some, benefits that we assume are there over the real stuff, but I think the fact that we just compare it to what is real meat is a very dangerous position for the category. You can't have a category that's just counter to the competition, that you don't have an identity. And unfortunately, the category's identity has all been very elitist, very climate warrior, like very woke. He's right on. I mean, his language was strong, but kind of necessary. And I think he sent a really strong message to the industry, I would say. At a really big advertising event in LA, who I think him coming from, so he has a lot of background from Chobani, like he used to run that business. So he has a lot of experience in consumer products and in the food category. So I think him kind of identifying and highlighting the challenges of the category, he's the CEO of Impossible Foods. That's going to be a big play on what happens with plant-based foods moving forward. And I think all of us have sort of stopped hearing about it, right? I feel like it kind of went away, or people stopped caring, or it became too niche. And, the category just got a lot smaller. But I think his task of trying to reposition the entire category is going to be a challenge. But it's a much needed one. And it's a much needed change that has to happen for that category to survive.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. I went through this phase where I was vegan. I was really like a huge Impossible Foods consumer. And my reasoning was the climate. Like, believe it or not, I mean, it was much more driven by climate than anything else. And I remember seeing the marketing around that. I mean, that was the conversation: is you go get Impossible Foods or Beyond Meat because it's your duty to save the climate, right? But that conviction didn't keep me hooked enough, where then I started running into the concerns about nutrition. And, like, I started feeling weaker in some senses. And maybe I didn't have a balanced enough diet. Fair. But the point here is that was my conviction to get into this, into Impossible Foods or Beyond Meat, not the taste of it, not the, maybe the nutrition behind it. That's never anyone's thinking, or at least it was never my thinking getting into it. And so I totally agree with you. I think this is a stud move by him to go ahead and face it head on and say, yes, we know we've been uppity all this time and our brand has been for a select few, but now let's actually make it for all. And I know Beyond Meat had tried to do that, right? Like you could get Beyond Meat burger and things like that. But from where was it? Was it Burger King?
Burger King, yeah. And Impossible Whopper, I think I had that.
Okay, yeah. So it looks like they've tried, but it's really now it's like, how do you encourage people to reach for that at the grocery store and not be because of climate? I think there was a recent study done too. There was like a milk brand that was targeted at and like they did like an A/B test on packaging, same brand of milk, and they put it side by side. One was focused on climate and one was focused on just taste, right? And just like whatever, right? And so the one on climate performed far worse, like far, far worse. And what they learned was that people are not at the grocery store are not making a decision on climate. They're making a decision on what they'll feel good about reaching for in their fridge.
When you said that, it made me think of who the biggest opportunity, who the biggest customer for Impossible Foods is. It's not people like me and you. It's the food service. It's the commercial side of things. How are you going to make Burger King interested in keeping this on the menu again? You can't just be about climate change, right? That's not valuable enough. What is the differentiation of the product? What do you bring to the table that consumers want? And I think at that brief moment in time, there was a couple of years where we saw a lot of plant-based foods inside of fast food. It was really just meant for the meat substitutes, right? It was really just supposed to be a replacement for meat for those who want it. Very small portion population, right? Too niche of a category, not worth maintaining a long-term strategy for a food menu. So this is a really good move, but we'll see what the position ends up becoming. I think there's a lot here to tell if how much they're going to go into the plant-based science side of things, or are they going to try to invest in the flavor and the texture and the product itself and try to go head to head against the real meat categories and maybe try to win. We'll see. All right, let's get into the first brand to watch. America has a new logo. On July 4th, 2026, this country will turn 250 years old. And in the past week, the U.S. Semiquincentennial Commission revealed that logo that will be used for the big birthday. And it is quite the look. I'll try to explain it to you for those listening on audio. At the top, in all caps in black serif font, it says America. And underneath is a giant 250, depicted as a red, white, and blue stripped ribbon. The designer said that the ribbon has almost an impossible construction, which adds additional meaning to the look because bringing people together today is almost an impossible task. Before I give you my creative opinion on this logo, let me share what professional designers have said about it. It feels like an early round review that should have gone through a couple more rounds. Another quote, the ribbon feels like an infinity symbol and feels forced. And then another one, my favorite, that describes what I think. It's something that people get tattooed on their body because it's really easy to explain what it means, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea. Think about having the opportunity to create a logo for the United States of America for its 250th birthday and just completely bomb it. You guys are going to see this logo on our social channels and on the video here. It is ugly. It doesn't look. It literally looks exactly like these creative professionals are talking about. It looks forced. It looks like an early round. Like it looks like an intern did it. It just doesn't symbolize what the things that you think America would symbolize. Now, I'm not some super patriotic person, or I have a strong perception or opinion about what America should look like on a logo, but it doesn't seem like this is it. And that's what I wanted to highlight here. You guys are going to see this logo over the next couple of years. We're talking about 2026, and this logo was just launched. So keep an eye out for it. It's something to watch, and you're going to probably see it in places that you don't care to, and it's going to look ugly, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really interesting that they went with this design. I think they were trying to prove that AI didn't do this, because AI would probably think of something better. So they're trying to show like this is what humans can still do. It's really just it looks very 1996 LA Olympics is what it reminds me of. So I mean, it's interesting. I mean, there may be some greater meaning behind why the ribbon and stuff like that, rather than anything else.
I know. Yeah. When you said 1996, I immediately thought of word art, and that's what this looks like.
All right, I'll go into my brand to watch. This man can single-handedly end America's love affair with Israel. My brand to watch is Motaz Azaiza. I wish I was bringing up his name and him as a brand to watch under different circumstances, but over the last couple months, Israel has completely decimated Palestine, and they are showing no signs of letting up. Where the world has completely lost faith in journalism, traditional journalism, Motaz has documented the acts of war firsthand. He is not only helping pull lifeless children out of the rubble, but he is doing it with a camera in his hand. If you go to his Instagram, every other post has a sensitive content warning on it. His following, I've personally seen, has grown from about 300,000 when I started following him to about 17 million. The world has really taken into his content. And really, it's scary because every couple days he will lose connection with the outside world. It's just something that they're facing, and millions start to think that he's died. But he'll pop up every couple days and say, "Hey, no, I'm still alive, and here are some new images." And he's really become a symbol of the resistance. His images and videos have sparked marches. Even in the UK, they have made a mural of him as a symbol of truth. I'm really heartbroken by the apathy of world leaders. At least 20,000 people have died at an average age of 7. The reality of this war is that an entire generation is being wiped out intentionally. I'm glad to see brave journalists like Motaz show what needs to be shown. So, Motaz, you are my brand to watch this week. Stay safe out there, my brother.
Really powerful stuff. Yeah, no, this is a great highlight. I think what he's been able to do, what he's been able to accomplish, really powerful stuff, and keep fighting for the truth out there.
And I'm sorry to be, that this can be sensitive of a topic. And really for me, it's not a political thing. It's just a human rights thing. Just seeing what's happening shouldn't be happening on any side whatsoever. And so, we've been blessed with a platform of any size, whatever size it is. We have a platform, and if we can't speak our truth, then what's it worth? So that's the reason why I wanted to bring it up. But look, guys, that's a wrap this week. What we'll do is next week we are going to take a little bit of a break. It is Christmas, and we're going to be with our families. Enjoy your holidays, and we'll get back to you after that. Stay fabulous, my friends.
See you in the new year.
Men go mad.
Who's gone mad?
Mad Men.
You're mad.
The man's mad.
Mad Men.